Hi, welcome to the Modern Application Development Screencast. In this short screencast, we will learn how to create templates, use these templates to create HTML documents, and generate some of the documents dynamically. Before we start, open the following applications on your Ubuntu desktop so that you can work along with me. As usual, you need a browser. I have Chrome here. You need an editor. I'm using a simple text editor called gedit, and then you need a terminal. I'm using a built-in terminal, and then you need a file browser. I'm using just built-in file browser, and you also need to know you have installed Python 3. Based on your settings, it could be command Python 3 or it could be Python. In my case, it's Python 3. So you can see that. If my default Python is Python 2.7. So you will most probably see me using Python 3. Just check whichever command is available in your system and use the one which has the version Python 3 or any of the series in Python 3. Okay. Now, before we begin, let's create another folder called experiment2. Let me just go to the folder structure. Here I am. Okay, let me create a folder called mkdir, folder called experiment2, where we will do all our experiments in this screencast. Okay, it's created, and I'll just go into the folder. CD, we have nothing there. Now let's create a file called app.py. This is going to be our application file. This is where we're going to write some code. Okay, so I'm going to create this through command line. It should be straightforward. Okay, if you do touch, it will create a new file. I'll do okay, let me just show it to you. Currently there is no file inside this. Now if I do touch app.py, a file gets created here. Now I want to just open this file using a gedit. You can right click and open with gedit, or you can just open the gedit and file open, or you can use the command prompt like gedit app.py. It should open the file. Yeah, clear the screen. So here is your app.py open. So this is going to be your first Python file. We need to add a function called main, and also we should run it as soon as it's called from the command prompt. Let me just do that. Let's define a function called main. Right. Okay, now I want to run it only when it's invoked as a script. So this, now when it's invoked, it will call this part, and then it will call function main. The function main calls print and types hello. So let's try and run it. Python 3. Yeah, so it's working. Here, this part checks the current scope. Name is underscore name underscore is name. This current scope name is same as main, and then it runs the function main. This is just to make sure that script is called as command prompt script and only run this. Otherwise, this won't run this otherwise. Okay, let's continue. In the beginning, let's do a simple template using Python formatting. So let me add a template. Instead of hello world, I want to add a okay, let me just fix the typo first. Instead of this, I want actually to print the name, or format it as we go. So I'm going to add a template. I'm presently adding it as a string here. I'll say hello. Name. Okay. And then instead of actually printing like this, I'll just print template.format. Variable name is name and the value is Tej. So let me save this and run. As you can see, it's printing hello Tej, right? So this is actually a simple string formatter where it kind of replaces the variable with the value that we are passing. There are many ways to do it. We don't have to actually pass the name of the variable here. It could be just empty, and we could just pass the value, and that also should work. And if you want, for example, location of the thing, that also will work. Yeah. So there are many ways to do this. I think being named is much more easier, so that you know what it's replaced with, right? This is more intuitive. Okay. Now it can do many other things. It's pretty advanced and can do complicated formattings and stuff like that. Let's do another one where I want to print actually numbers. Okay. Let's say if it was something like this. So here I'm actually printing two numbers. This is P and then this is N, where P is plus and N is minus. Okay, negative number. Let's run this. Actually, it does press. This is 5 and this is minus 7. Let's say if you want actually print this as like in even for 5, which is positive, I want it to show the sign. So that can be done by adding specifiers. You generally add it after the colon and name. So it's usually done. Let's add a specifier. So this actually tells it to add sign regardless of the value. Usually it will put sign only for negative numbers, like before it used to put sign only for negative numbers. But when you say when you give a specifier plus, which is usually given after the colon, if you give plus, which is a specifier which tells the formatter that please print sign of the number 2. Let's do now. So you can see now it prints plus 5 and minus 7. So this is one of the things. It can also print other formats. For example, if you have a number in decimal, but you want to print it in, let's say in hexadecimal, you can use the string formatter for that. Let me just give an example. Yeah, it's also done using the similar specifier. So here I have a template which says this is in decimal, whatever the value, and this is in hex, whatever the value. Here colon D, or format specifier after the colon D, tells it print the decimal value. Here X tells it to print the hexadecimal value. Let's print a number, right? let's pass value 10 to it, right? Okay, so it's actually, what is the hexadecimal value of 10? Let's find out. It's A. As you would know, from 9 until 9 it is 9, and 10 becomes A in hexa. Decimal value is 10. So you can use format specifiers to do such things. And there are lots of things that you could do. I'll probably put a link in the notes where you can go explore more about this. There is also F strings, which is an advanced Python formatting string literals, also called F strings, that can be used to format string for printing or outputting to a file. That's quite advanced and also has lots of features. I'll put a link, you can go explore it. Now these are pretty good for inline printing, logging, or giving message to user, that kind of a smaller formatting of text. If you want to do really big one, let's say you are generating a large document, for example an HTML document from a template, then it's too complex to actually have it as a string formatter, for which you would probably need an expressive and extendable templating language. For example, Jinja2. There are quite a few of them. I'm going to show you Jinja2. Jinja2 is a fast, expressive, extensible templating engine. Special placeholders in the template allow writing code similar to Python syntax. Then the template is passed the data to render the final document. That way, you are separating the view or the text or the content from the code, but you also have a highly flexible and logic oriented templating language that can be used to produce complex documents. Jinja2 is an external library. It's not built into Python 3, so we need to install it. Before we begin installing, since we are installing an external library, I would actually like to do virtual environment before that. So let's create a virtual environment within the same folder that we have. That's done by using this command. So here I'm telling use Python 3 create virtual environment command, use the virtual environment command or create virtual environment command in a local folder called .experiment2. That's where all the virtual environment related files are stored. Okay, let's do that. It might take a second. Okay, it's created. Now if you go see here, if you see all the hidden files, because it starts with dot, you can see that there is experiment 2-env. Yeah. Now we need to activate the virtual environment. Okay, so that's done by sourcing the activate script. Source dot go to our virtual environment directory, go to bin and activate. Yeah, it's activated now. Now just search which Python is available. Here you can see a local Python version is used since it's using the virtual environment. I can also check Python. Okay, so it is 3.6. So from now on we'll use the command Python, which is from the local. Okay, now we actually want to install Jinja3, so let's go ahead and install Jinja3 using pip3. Okay, so the command to install the package is pip3 install Jinja2. Jinja2 is the package name. Now this command will download and install the package within the local virtual environment that we have activated. Please note that this won't install in the whole system. Only if the virtual environment is available, then Jinja2 will be available. Yeah, so now it's installed. I usually like to keep it installed package details in requirements.txt. So if you want to reinstall all the packages, all the dependencies, then we can do it very quickly. You can read about how to use requirements.txt online. I'll put a link. But to generate requirements.txt automatically from installed packages, we can use pip freeze, which will actually print all the installed package list. So you can see it has installed Jinja2, which indirectly has installed other things. You can directly create it, or you can just output it to a requirements.txt. I'm just going to output it to a requirements.txt. Yeah. So it just creates, and then you have, yeah. Okay. Basically, if you open the requirements.txt, let me just open the requirements.txt. It just shows I've installed Jinja2, which is version 3.0.1, a mark safe, which is kind of installed by Jinja2, and the package resource. Actually, this is not required, so I can remove it. Actually, even mark safe is not required. If you just put Jinja2, I think indirectly that will install mark safe, so it should be fine. But I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, this will be very useful if you're going to share with your friends, or you want to move to a production environment, what all the packages installed. To know that, or replicate the same thing, you can use the requirements.txt. Now that we have installed the package, let's start using it. Yeah. So the simplest one will look like this. So first we have to import from our Jinja2 a class called template. Right? Okay. Let's install. Import. So that will be from Jinja2 import template. This is the template class that we are going to use often and probably going to use a lot. Yeah. So we are importing that from Jinja2. Now, Jinja2 also uses somewhat similar templating system, but the way substitutions are done are a little different. Let's say I want to do hello world here too. Yeah. Hello world name. So here in Jinja2 it's done hello. You can see this is a little bit different. Initially we had used single flower brackets. Here we are using double flower brackets, right? And then name, right? This is a simple template, right, of Jinja2. Now before we render it, what we need to do, we need to actually initialize the class template and pass on this string template to it, right? Now we are initializing this Jinja class template and passing the template string to it, and we are getting a template object. Now we can just render the template and pass on the variable that we want to print. So here I'm trying to render this template. I'm passing on the variable name that gets substituted here, like you can see, right? And then if we run it, now we can run it here. Just be sure you're using Python, right? Because the default Python is here Python 3 within our virtual environment. So I'm going to run app.py. So you can see it has done the substitution, it has rendered, and rendered gives you a final text, and that gets printed. So this is the most simplest Jinja template.